All right, thank you on that. All right, so the next section in the book, it talks about data and entering data. So you want to enter something. Let's say I wanted to enter John Smith into it. I would type his name into the column. And then I would type his email and fill out the rest of this. If I wanted, had the next name Jane Doe, and I'm just going to kind of randomly put some other names in here, then myself, I'm going to, if you're familiar with working with Excel, you'll also find that I only hit J and O, and you can see how John Smith popped up again. This is a feature within Excel that automatically recognizes things that you use quite often. In the case of names, you got to be careful that you pay attention to that. This works out really good if you have the same, let's say in dry run here, I use that for dates, and people do things on different dates. And that's that. Okay, 120 and then 127 slash, if I do 128 slash, and oh, I got to go back up here. It'll keep going. Another thing that you can do, let's say you wanted to have the same information in that cell. If I hit Control quote and then hit enter, that's not doing it. Yeah, I'll do it over here under John Smith. It put John Smith right into 6 and 7. So that shortcut was Control quote mark key, and it'll repeat what you have in the above it, the cell right above it, directly above it. Clearing a cell, if you want to clear, what I did is I highlighted, then hit delete. You can also hit, I clicked on Stacy Smith. I hit backspace, everything out of that goes away out of that cell. Now the next area they talk about are working with blocks. And blocks are like I have June, July, August here. And if I go over and hit column B, that I can make into a block, and I can highlight it just in that area. And I can also add some borders to it if I wanted to. So you can work things into different kind of blocks on your spreadsheet. Here, I took this one part of the row 13 and put it into a block earlier. Another area on this here, we're talking about, I want to talk about adjusting height and width of a column and a row. You can, if I go up here and click on you see the cursor and it's made a cross-like mark right next to between B and C, I can adjust the column like this and it'll make it wider. You can also adjust your columns by where I have the cursor on A, I've highlighted the whole column A, go across the top of the ribbon, and under format, you can adjust the height, adjust the column. You can do it, select what you would like, or you can do an auto fit. So everything that's in it, that column goes to the widest item that is in that column. So the words adjusting width and height, that was the took up the most space, so it adjusted it to fit that. And all the column will all look nice and clean in it. The same goes for the rows. You can adjust them too by go like this. On the side, I can make them wider. As you can see, what I did for A4 made the row 4 wider. You can also go up to format and you'll find row height and you can adjust it there too. So there's always more than one way to do it. I do not have a mouse hooked up to this laptop, but I could be using the little pad in front of me, which when I don't have a mouse, I don't like using. If I had a mouse, I would right click on the mouse and I would be able to do these items too. So that is selecting, looking at blocks, selecting things. Notice this little dotted line here. That is where the page ends. I don't normally need that at this point in time. So that is the row height and cell. So the next item in this is entering a formula. I put together, and this is in the little book that you'll be getting, this little spreadsheet here. I typed all this information in, and you can see here, the first one under the address B2, you can see that $300 is in there. And in C2, the 548, D2, the 474, and in E2, 684. But in F, I wanted it to add. And you can see up here at the top, it's got the sum. Now I did that by using the automatic sum feature. In the past, different formulas that I've had to use for different spreadsheets, I had to write out the formula. I think probably later on during the course here, I'll be able to show you some formulas that using the if and also less than, greater than type of functions that you can do. Most of us are probably use Excel for either adding, subtracting, or doing basic math, but you can do very complex mathematics in it too. So to get the sum in a quick and easy way, instead of typing in the formula up there, if I highlight, I'm going to row C and I'm highlighting C and then dragging and grabbing that empty C6 box and we'll go over to sum. I hit sum and it automatically fills it in. Why did I have those number signs appear? They appeared because the column is not wide enough. If I just go up here and stretch it out a little bit, the numbers will appear. So when you get that number, again, I'm going to do the addition over here again, and I have those numbers. Tells me the column's not wide enough. And I'm sure that you've all probably have seen that before. And again, I've put the sums there for the fourth quarter. So that's the total for your quarters. And I'm going for the last row too. This total here that's in F6 is the sum of the column, but because the sums should also equal the sum going across. And it probably does if I was to change the formula, probably would be the same one. So formulas can be really easy and they make it really convenient. If you go up here, I clicked on that funny looking E and you can see that you have sum, average, it can count numbers, it can maximum, minimum, and there's more functions. If the
Mary?
Yes.
On the spreadsheet where you just were, just really quickly, do you want to tell everyone how you got the nice, neat dollar signs on everything? Because that's such a handy tool.
Okay. And that comes up later on, but I'll do it now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, that's all right, though. You see the formatting of the cell, the nice, neat dollar signs. You actually, if I highlighted all the ones with the numbers in it, and I come up here to where it says custom, this is where you can format the type of numbers that you want. I wanted the dollar sign, and actually I'm going to take the dollar sign off. I think I am. All right, I click that on in. I can do accounting, and underneath symbols, I can have none. So I have no dollar signs there now. So if I wanted to, and I'm also going to highlight it and take away my decimals. So it just looks like plain numbers now. But if I wanted to do dollar signs and make it look like money, I would highlight it, come back up here and just hit that dollar sign. And notice it automatically puts the 2 decimals in there for money. I can take it away by coming up here and decrease the decimals, decrease it by 2, so it's only whole dollars that are in there. And you can change these individual cells, or you can change a group of cells all at once. Changing a group, you would highlight it all together and then come up here to custom. But if I just wanted to have, I've highlighted E10 right now. And if I come up here to where it says general, I could format that to be a date. And if I did 6/1/21, that's what's going to be in there. And if I click back on there, you can see that up here where it had general, it changed to date. If I go back to that date, and let's say I want long date, click that on, it automatically gives me that Tuesday, June 1st, 2021. I didn't look that up on the calendar. The computer did that for me automatically because I chose the long date. So these are some great features up here that you can choose. You can also see you have your general numbers where it'll be whole numbers. Then you can do plus or minus. If you have a negative number, you can do that. And you can go out to as many decimal places as you like. Currency. Again, you can choose what you would like in there. Accounting functions. You can do date, you can do time, percentages, fractions too. Scientific notation, text in a cell, or you can special such as Social Security or zip code. These type of formatting features, if you chose phone number, that cell that I had highlighted, I chose phone number. I just typed in the numbers. I didn't do the parentheses or the dash. The formatting was automatic. So 555 313 2454. I think I have one extra number there. Highlight that again and go back up and change it to a phone number. Oh, I didn't. I hit %. There we go. All right. In the You can do zip codes. You could do, you saw there maybe social security number. So numbers can be pre-formatted so that a whole column can just be set up so that only phone numbers can go in there. And you can also set it up to where only text goes in there. Like maybe you're doing a spreadsheet where you are keeping track of yes, no items, and you can set it up to where it's only a Y can go in there or only an N can go in there. And that's a little bit more advanced that we'll be looking at as we go through the program. So correcting formulas. Going up here, if you handwrite your formula and you've created it, and let's say, oh, I had an extra 1 up there, that's going to tell me automatically they found a typo, and they will do the automatic correction for me on that. Sometimes, and why that number is the way it is beyond me, but oh, it's custom up here instead of currency. But you can correct your formulas. It's easier to use the preconditioned formulas that are in there when you start doing spreadsheets for, let's say, a balance sheet, income statement, things like that. You're going to be using more formulas. Sometimes now people get specialized accounting software that'll create those, but you could still do it with an Excel spreadsheet if you wanted to. Now, some of the other features that are in are autofill. If I typed in January, and if I come back onto January, I highlighted it, and you notice how the cursor has that X right on it. If I go down like that, I have just auto-filled the days of the months for myself. That is one feature that is kind of cool, and you can do that differently. I could type in the numbers if I wanted them, or I could do one, come up here, highlight it. This is the area. Notice that it did automatic 111 all the way down. If I come back up to the ribbon and underneath the function symbol, you're going to find that I can choose different, I could do a series, and here it tells me column, and it'll be linear starting at 1. It automatically changed everything, so it is counting down the months 1 through 12 for the months. So these are really kind of nice fill-in features that you may use at times. You'll find them helpful. All right, so you can fill, and of course, like any spreadsheet or any Microsoft Office product, you also have the ability to do spell check. Under review, you have spell check so that you can check things. Fortunately, the computer spelled everything for me here, so there's nothing in it. Notice it also has I can say it, can't say it, but you know, if you're looking up different words, it's there. So this can come in handy. And notice too, you also have the ability to protect your workbook, where you can lock it so nobody can go in and change numbers on you. Again, depending on what you're using, you may find that helpful for you. All right. The next area that the book talks about is saving. And I'm sure that many of you already know how to save a file by coming up here under File and doing Save or Save As. First time, you probably do a save or a save as, and you put it where it is. But you can see here, you also have the ability to protect your workbook under this area too. And this is standard, just like it is in Word as far as saving it. One thing I would recommend that you make sure that, earlier I mentioned how I go to the this database we have and I pull the students from each class. When I do that, it comes up in a different type of format called a C. If I go save as, and let's see, here, it comes up, it takes all the commas out. It will not keep the same format. It won't be in a Excel workbook. And I find that sometimes I've used a workbook from that database and I make all sorts of changes into it. And when I go to save it, I don't change this here to Excel, so that when I save it, all my changes are not there. So be on the lookout for that if you're ever downloading from a different program into Excel. That is, you know, the extension is maybe the issue that you're having, that's not saving what you're changing. We've already talked about the print option that is there. And I want to go back and talk about page setup and layout. So this is across your top. I'm back at home. I go over to page layout. Here, under margin and orientation, I can do some changes to it. Just like in Word, you can change how big you want your margins and how small you want them. You can even customize them to what you want. You have your header and your footer that you can put in there if you'd like. Sometimes people will put in the date and page numbers across the bottom of their worksheets so that they know what page things are on. And then you have your sheet. You can select under sheet. This is where you can put grid lines so that your grid lines show up when you print. And you can have them, you can see here how it, it's kind of set for default to go down and then over, or you can choose to have it go across like that. Most people were conditioned to use the down then over, and then we get a print preview from it, and that's what it looks like. And notice the grid lines are there. Prior, they were not on that. So then you also have your orientation. You could either do portrait or landscape. Doesn't seem like it changed at all when I clicked landscape, but if I go over to file and look at the print, now you can see that it is in landscape. Those type of features, and that's what's nice about Office, is that things work the same across the different programs that that they have designed. So that's changing orientation, and we've talked about print area. One nice thing too, if you just wanted to, let's say I just wanted to print this section that I've just highlighted, I can just print that section where it has active sheet. I just want to print selection. You notice here, that's all that's showing up. That's all that would be printed in that document, what I had highlighted. So we've talked about all that. Custom margins, headers and footers. Headers and footers, the first document that I have back here. This one does have a footer, header in it. I go to print view, it's page 1. Yes. Okay, so this is page 1 here, but I do have my name in page 1 in the header area. I could have put this down in the footer. It all depends on what you're doing and where you would want to put it. So going back, I don't know if you noticed this, but across the bottom, I've been going from page to page. This is what's in this worksheet. And if you have used Excel a lot, I'm just going to keep going across. You'll see that all the letters across the top is the alphabet. You get to a point where they start being AA, then AB, AC. This would all still, it wouldn't be on the same page, but it would be on that page of that spreadsheet. If I were to print it out, it would not all come out on the same page. And then eventually you'll start seeing that it becomes AX, AY, keeps changing. Then you got B. Your spreadsheet can go on and on and on, just like numbers go on and on and on. And the same goes for, if I come over here to the columns, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, keep going down, and they go down forever. So that would all be on one page. If I wanted the next page, all I have to do is click that there. And notice it becomes sheet 1. And then I have sheet 1. I have also page 22, which is a sheet for me. The template roster, sheet 1, and then entering functions, autofill, we've talked about. These are different pages within it. So it's like this wonderful file with many, many pages that you can keep creating. And we'll get to these other items as we go through. But if I wanted to add a new page, see I have page 2 there. I have that. I'm going to rename it. I'm just practice page, and I can name these pages whatever I want to name them as I go through. And you can add more pages as you need within yours. And then to navigate, you just go across the bottom, clicking until you find what you want. Notice I have the sheet 1. If I click that on and I right click it, I can delete it. That sheet has just now disappeared. So there, that's a nice feature so that you can have continuous, be working in the same document. I know that one of the things that I use Excel for is keeping track of the programs that I do year by year. They're all in one Excel spreadsheet, and each year is just a separate page, and they're labeled at the tab at the bottom. So I know what I'm looking for. Everything's in one source, and I just have to tab through the bottom for the specific year that I'm looking for. And again, you can all, in your headers and your footers, you can customize them if you want to. If I go back to, let's see, tiles with, I'm going to go back over here to sheet options and headers and footers. You can go in here and customize your header or your footer. Let's say you're working for an organization and in your spreadsheet you want to put their logo. It may be a graphic image or something. You could import it into the header and footer just like you would in Word. So that's a possibility for you to do. So you can customize your headers and footers. You can put page numbers on it, the date on it. You can set it up so that every time that you open it up, let's say it's a spreadsheet that you use once a month and you add new information on the first of the month. And you could set it up to where when you open it up on that first of the month to add new information, that it automatically does that for you. That'll be something that we look at later on. And then we've talked about closing a document. Just like in Word, if you wanted to close, you would come up here. I could close out here, or I could close out over under File. The same process for saving. So the next section that we get into the book is creating a new. And this is where they start having you do some exercises. So your first assignment is going to come from page 58. And I'm not going to do that because I'm going to have you do it when you get everything. But within that assignment, you start working, after you create that document, you start doing some of the things that the nice features, such as cut and paste and drag and drop. And these are the same as though as in Word too. So the word help I have here on the screen. If I wanted to move that to a different location, I can highlight it, do Control-C, come over to a different location and do Control-V and put it there. I can then go back and Control-X, highlight it, and delete it. And now it's gone. So that feature is just the same as it is in Word. Drag and drop. I have it, and you notice now that the cursor is across. I can, skinny one. I click that on, and then I can drag it and drop it to wherever I want to place it. You can also have pictures in there. You can even have a formula in a cell, and you can do the drag and drop on that. Then here, the clipboard. The clipboard, I'm going to go back to home. On your home screen, you have the clipboard right over here in the upper left-hand corner. And this is something that I learned new today. Now, I've used Clipboard in Word, and I've also used it in Excel. But you can click on Clipboard, and you can, notice over here, I did it actually a couple copies today when I was playing with it. You can paste up to 25 different options in the clipboard that you could have sitting there and be pasting them into different pages and sheets on your in your workbook for whatever reason you may need that, or maybe it's an image that you have here that you wanted to repeat again later, which I thought was pretty kind of neat to see that. So if I highlight all that, and I'm going to right click the mouse and put it in paste, add it to the clipboard. Okay, now that time what I did was highlight the whole thing, and I hit paste over here and it added. I hit clear all, it's going to empty out my clipboard. So the clipboard feature I thought was kind of neat to see. All right. moving data. We talked about the cut and paste, and same as copying text, pasting format. So now we're going to move on to some of the other features that you can do is formatting. And I'm going to walk you through all these 7 different types of formatting. Aligning cells. Aligning cells just like you would in Word across the top here. If I wanted left align, which this is, if I wanted center, I would just hit the center, or I could have it right. A lot of times, if you're working with numbers, sometimes it's nice to use this one here when they align to the right, because then it starts everything over here. It can make your spreadsheet look a little bit neater. Merging and center across columns. To merge a column, I highlighted A, and I'm going to go across to H and then hit the word merge and center here. Then if today is January 20th, I can put that in there, and that puts it right in the center. And that is one, from A to H, that is one cell. I highlight it, and I'm going to put a thick border around it. So that's, you can see that underneath that, the columns still, B, C, these are still separate from 2 going forward, but in row 1, it now has like a header for it. So if we looked at this back in the page setup, you can see how that would look with the date across the top bolded and boxed out, but then the first column is there. So that's how you can put a nice title on, or if you're making a little chart of some kind, you want to make it different than the header, you would do something like that. Now, it automatically puts it in the center, but you could still also adjust this to be to the left or to the right, depending on what you're doing. Another thing is vertical alignment. Vertical alignment happens up in here where you can change your text. I have that vertical alignment highlighted, and I'm going to change the vertical alignment just by moving it. It's -90 degrees, and I'm just going to hit OK and see what happens. See how the vertical alignment of the words are right there? You could also make, I go highlight this square again, go back up here to alignment. I could even make it, that's a -44 degrees. Hit OK. Now my words are going on a slant. Sometimes people will do spreadsheets that across the top, they wanted to label the columns, and they'll do something like this and actually kind of give you a better visual on that one. I'm going to change it to like that, and that gives you that type of vertical alignment, easier to read. Changing text orientation, so we've been playing around with that a little bit. You can also change the text left to right or right to left. Let's see what right to left looks like. That didn't really do too much changing into that area. Formatting numbers, we've talked about this already some. Again, formatting numbers fall into this area. The different type of formats that you can have. And you can format things for date and time. You can format it. General would just be if you're having text in there, that would be where you would want it for general. When you want numbers, again, whatever specific number you may want it to be in, percent signs. If I put 50 in there, yeah, that's general. Let's see if I changed it to percent. It would automatically change the number to the percent on it. Also, inserting columns and rows, that is also done on the home screen. You can do that. I'm going to highlight number 6 and come up here to insert, and I'm going to insert a row. And it automatically puts it above the wording that you have selected. You can also, I'm gonna move over just a little bit so we're not playing around with that merge cell. Highlight J, and I'm gonna insert, I can insert column in there. All these things I can also do by getting rid of them. I can hit delete. You can delete a column, you can delete a sheet, you can delete a row. All what you want to do. Coming back to 6, I highlight that, come up to here and delete the row. And it just automatically moves what's below it up 1. You can do this anywhere in it. What you can't do, row number 1 is that merge cell. I cannot, if I go to delete these, they will, I think it gives me it won't let me combine them when they're different. They all have to be the same. So if I wanted to combine this, I would have to go back up and change this to be like the one behind it. Take off the merge so that all that goes into A1. Then highlight this again, include all 3 rows, and then hit merge. And it took away everything else that was in row 2 and 3. It'll only keep what's in the top row. So you want to make sure that when you are using those functions or that formatting, that you're grabbing what you want in and making sure. Now I could have, and I can keep it all by doing each row separately as a merge and center. So that information is in there. That 5,000% will probably go right away. So it discarded that. And then I could take all these and put one big, nope, it didn't do it all. It did each individual line. It gave it a border around each one, and it would do that. So we've talked about inserting and deleting the different things. You can also, again, like Word, I could take that first row that I have there where I've merged all the columns into one, and highlight it. And I can highlight this a different color by going up to the top and where the little paint bucket is and choosing a different color. And here, choosing even another color. If I go back and just kind of show you the original, the reason why I have every other line yellow is that normally there's emails and phone numbers. It helps me keep track when I'm reading across, making sure that I have the right phone number by having them that different color. That's the one thing that I would like to comment, that, you know, being colorful helps the reader when you're doing something, especially when we get to, in the next couple weeks, we'll be doing some charts and graphs. Color is great, but you also want to make sure when you're doing any type of spreadsheet or something that you're going to present to somebody else, that you make it easy to read and that it's clear to read for them. And that's where a lot of this formatting helps out across the program, the features that are in the program. Okay, so here we talked about the clipboard, and we're here back on the formatting page. So you have the different colors that you can format. You can also wrap text, such as this cell right here. If I click wrap, all right. All right, I click that on and I'm going to hit wrap text. See how that does that automatically by just clicking it on. So if you have more in your box and you need to make it bigger, you can use wrap text to do that. I'm gonna click that on again. And again, all the functions over here work for it. Up here, you can also center it within the column itself. I'm going to adjust the column heights a little bit. And that centers it vertically. This brings it right up to the top, and this brings it down. The AB button allows you to rotate, kind of the quick way to rotate your wording on an angle. Again, I can kind of make this even bigger, I think. Yeah, doesn't fit in there, so it fits into that cell like that. You can change the font to anything that you would like. If I go down here and I change it, let's say I make it 16. Now, none of the, a lot of the letters do not look good in these cells. So I would have to adjust everything to kind of make it fit better. So when you go and pick things, you want to think about your text and the size that you want prior to you start to create the spreadsheet. I find that the text size is something that I kind of want to decide before I create the spreadsheet because of the column widths and the size of the columns. I don't want to do all the editing and clean up at the end because sometimes it becomes a little bit more cumbersome and I have to do more editing than what I originally wanted to. For those who took the Word program, we did the editing, kind of did it different. Sometimes we showed you how to type, then go back and edit. Sometimes it's better to start out with the goal in mind, what you want to create in Excel, and start out there instead of trying to edit after the fact. Okay, so that's the vertical alignment on there. And we've talked about formatting numbers and deleting and inserting. So we're going to talk a little bit more about functions now. Going on to the next module, working with functions. This is in the book, page 83 and 86. I had typed into, and I'm going to type again over here, 1, 2, after 1, 2, then I'm just going to go down and highlight to 6. And I'm going to do that series fill in the column 1 through 8. Now, I'm going to highlight this again and look at some of the functions that we're able to do up here. Notice I have the last box. It's empty, but it's still highlighted. Because I want that, because whatever I select as the function to happen has to go into that last box. So I want to do the count. When you look at count numbers, we have 1 through 8 there. So the number count is 8. I'm going to highlight again, go down to the next one, and look at here under maximum number, that's 8. If I had different numbers here, such as 95, 60, 55, 66, 77, 88, 44. If I highlighted all those numbers and left that box, went back up to the function again, and did the maximum, it puts 95 in there. So you can take a row of a row of numbers, whether it's a row or a column, and highlight it all and stick the largest number in that bottom box if you wanted to. So if you wanted to know what the maybe a range of something was, you could do that. Going back to this column, I'm going to highlight it again, and this time the minimum number, which we all know is 1. And yes, 1 appears there. Then back right up here, highlighting again, and this time all those numbers that I have highlighted, I'm going to ask for the average. It automatically puts the average number. You go back up here and you look, the formula says equal average I1 through I11. It's done that math for you. If I highlighted it all again, and this time ask for the sum, it just added all these numbers up for us. And you can go back and look at that equation or the function up here, which is the function of x equals sum I1 through I12. Notice it's got to have that comma in there, or colon symbol in there, any other symbol, and you won't get the formula. So these are very common formulas that a lot of people do. And if you hit more functions, you can write your own, and you can also get help on functions. And you can look up and see what you might want to have. They have sums. If I wanted to, powers of 2, it would give me information about those functions and what you could do and how you would put together one. Personally, I don't use these type of functions, you know, the extreme math ones. Maybe you might. Most of us are more, use it more for accounting purposes, where we add, we subtract, we might find the percent of something. Some people who are more advanced might do a mortgage schedule where it has all the interest calculated out in there. That's something that, you know, if you're into accounting, you might like to do that or have the need for it. But there's also programs that are free on the internet that will do it for you, that you can just put in there. All right, we talked about the functions there. And okay, and in addition to other functions, numbers, if I go under Formula 2, then it'll give you some more functions that you can use. Notice they have, we'll just start over in the left-hand corner. They have auto sum and more functions, the ones that are featured on the home screen. Recently used, these are the ones that we have, that I've been using. But then you have your financial ones where you can put in those type of functions. You also have logical ones. And these are the, you know, if you had something that was true, false, or if or not put into it, you can create functions with those type of items in there. You can have just text. You can also look at date and time and different ways to do it. Then you have your trigonometry functions. We're not getting into those type of things, and we're not at the level that we need to get into those, but they're there if you are really into doing math and you have statistical and engineering, cubing, all sorts of different things that this program is capable of doing. But we're at the beginner level and we don't need to do that at this point. So that is what I have to say about functions and what they cover in the beginning book. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about some more of the features, the text type features that they have in it. I mentioned already about highlighting and changing colors. Again, if you, just like in Word, if you were to change the color, you would go up on the home page up to the text area, which is this area. If you see the cursor going around, you have the A with the red. I can select whatever color I wanted for the text to be. And now I've just changed everything to blue. And you can also change the shading. You can have, let's say, I'm going to change it to a kind of a pinkish rose color there. You can do that. You can also, in this area, you have where you can have borders. If I click on that, I want to kind of highlight my box and put in borders in there. I can put in all borders so that every single cell and row is boxed out. You see that, and then I can go back up there and put a thick border on the outside so that when I look at this on my print page, you can see kind of there is a distinction on the outside compared to the inside. You may not see it as much on this screen right here, but if you were at home doing it yourself, you'll be able to see it clearer on it. You can also do different type of borders based on the items that you're doing. Notice they have a double bottom, double border, a thick border, top border, top and thick bottom border. These sometimes are more used in accounting features. You can also have left, right type of borders. So if I highlighted this, and I'm going to take off the borders that I've put there. I'm going to put no border on anything. Then come back up here. And just the one where these were the numbers. I'm just going to put a bottom border there. And then here, do a different border. So when you look at that, you may not be able to see it there, but if I bring it over to page print, you can see where there's a line and it looks like a double line underneath that. What you would use in an accounting situation where you would want to have a line, and when you get to your final answer, you double underline it. That gives you that type of look to it. So these features are all built in. And of course, just like in Word, you have your bold, you have your italics, you have your underline for all your words and everything that you can use. You can also increase your font. You have all the fonts that you would have in Word there. And of course, the sizing too. That's all available. Many of the same shortcuts also work for that you may use in Word, also work in Excel, like Control B, Control X, Control P for printing. They're all the same. Adding fill color, that's what I've done here. And again, you can also add, let's say I wanted to put a picture in there. You can insert things. We're going to get later on, we'll be doing in some of the charts and graphs the next time we meet, but you can even do a hyperlink into it. You can also do some word art if you wanted to. It's kind of one of the, features of this, just like you would in Word. So you can kind of play around with something and make it unique if you want to. But I'm going to get rid of that because I really don't want to do that. Just wanted to kind of mention that there are a lot of things that you can do in Word, you can do in Excel. Excel takes the charts that you do in Word and expands on it and makes it more powerful. From that, you're able to create charts and graphs with it. So you can see the power of Excel in a program. So for the next section that we're going to talk about is the protection tab. The protection tab is so that you can lock things and up in here. You can lock cells and you can, let's say, here where I've clicked on protection, you can click on any of these so that the person who's coming behind you, you know, if you're working in an office and you have shared files, you can set some files up so that they're standard and they can't be changed. And this is where you would do it. You would put in a password to create a password and such. And this walks you right through that if you need to ever do that. I don't know. Personally, I don't have a need to use those in what I use Excel for. Okay. Then back home here, conditioning format. These are some of the different types of conditioning you can do, and you can also format your charts to look differently. They have pre-conditioned into it, your format of your tables, they're here. Cells, if you wanted to change something in a cell, as far as accenting the different colors or the type of text you want to have in something, that's all done in this area. And again, that's a preference thing of what you want to do. The homework assignment is going to have you create a little table from the book. I have it all written out. It's on a certain page, page 83, and you type in, and then you get to play with the different formattings with it. You also get to experiment with a formula in it, not only adding, but also using percents. And then you would also then take what I'm going to go back to, let's see. This right here. I'm going to put in I'm going to take that out. I'm not going to move on at this point. Okay. Stop sharing. Okay. So I just finished going through the 5 first modules of the beginner level. It was a lot of information that I kind of walked you through. At this point in time, do any of you have any kind of questions that currently you may be using Excel that fall into one of these categories that you might want to know something about? Or can you tell me currently if you use it, and or what do you hope to gain out of taking this program? And Candace, can I start with you?
Well, I use Excel mostly just to keep track of things like in my garden or things like that. Not so much accounting, but keeping track of things that I work with a lot. And so I'm looking forward to being a little bit more flexible with it and have a little bit more scope on how I can use it.
Okay. When you first said you used it for, and I wasn't quite sure the word that you said.
Oh, in my garden, I collect groups of plants, and I use it to just keep track of the varieties I've purchased, and so that I can stop buying the same plant over and over again.
Okay. All right, Lisa. Thank you, Candace.
I have very rare occasions to use it, but I have, you mentioned saving a file as CVS, and I see that in my genealogy, and I don't know why I would save genealogy in a spreadsheet as a CVS format. What does that mean?
I don't know what the words stand for, the letters exactly stand for. I know that when it happens to me, I'm actually working in an Excel database type of program. So the information is coming from Excel, not Excel, but Access, a database, and I'm exporting it out, and it automatically from that database goes to a CVS type of file. There I have to change it to Excel to use it and to keep the changes that I have.
You can import a CVS into Excel.
Yes.
Okay. I'll have to try that sometime.
Well, in your genealogy work, are you in databases?
I'm in a program that organizes my genealogy.
And I bet you it is a database.
Okay, I don't know.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Based on what I know about genealogy and what the information is collected there, a lot of demographics, a lot of dates and births and places and like that. And it's going to be a database in it.
So it would organize for me sequence of births, who was older than somebody else and where they were born type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So I would get columns of locations and columns of dates.
Okay. And again, I'm pretty sure it is a database that you're using, and you're extracting, you're taking out of that database and moving your information into an Excel spreadsheet. And that's the way it comes out.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Nikki?
Sorry, I've got a little in the background. I work for a charter school and I'm technically their senior accountant. I'm not an accountant though. I'm going to be taking accountant classes starting in February at New Brockport. But I just want to become more familiar with Excel. I know the basic stuff. I just need help with formulas and maybe making things look a little prettier.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
And hopefully you do get something out of this. And good luck.
Oh, absolutely.
With your counting program that you start. And Nicole?
So I work at a doctor's office. I work primarily with CPAP supplies. So we do a lot of tracking of our sales orders, sales trends. So again, I'm pretty familiar with the basics of Excel. Some of the formulas I would like to be a little more comfortable with. And I do some of the graphing too, but sometimes I feel like it takes me longer to get to where I the finished product. And I feel like it's just because I'm kind of bouncing around to try to figure out exactly how to get it the way I want it.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Sharon? Sharon, you're on mute. There you go.
I just wanted it more for to learning, like taking care of the minutes. I also take attendance, so that would be wonderful to have a neat program lined up when I call out for the attendance is what I'm looking for. And I'm sure I'll find personal uses since I've never been a budgeter. So I'm kind of just looking forward to having the extra knowledge and to keep working my little brain cells.
Okay. Thank you. Gary?
Folks, numbers. I use it for keeping track of expenses. I sell antiques. I keep track of all my inventory. I use it for phone lists, address lists, all kinds of, if I have a need to do something, I usually use Excel.
Okay.
I'm looking for, I picked up a couple tips tonight, and I want to do more with the if function. If this, then this, or, I like to add things based on a formula. So I don't use it enough because I don't know how. So that's one of the areas that would be helpful to me.
All right. Okay, and Natala? Natala?
Yes.
Okay.
I use Excel in my line of work, but not a lot though. So I would say it's pretty basic use. My spreadsheets are pretty basic, and I would like to make them look a little better, nicer. I am familiar, like I said, with the basic functions, but when I compare my spreadsheets to some other spreadsheets that I receive through work, they're not as sophisticated, and I would like to be able to make them more user-friendly. Exporting, importing, those kind of things are the things that I'm interested in. I am familiar with basic formulas, but I'd like to maybe try and practice some other, more complicated formulas in my line of work. Like I said, I don't use it a lot, and I only use it through my work. As far as my personal life, I have an Apple product that I'm on, so they don't even have Excel. So Apple uses a completely different program. So what I'm trying to say is that I don't use Excel as often as I probably would like to.
Okay. Do you all have Excel on your home computers? You're not like, some of the versions that you can get, they're not totally complete. If you're using something online, it may not be as complete as the full one, but you all seem to have it on your computer.
Office 360.
You got 365? All right.
I have a Chromebook through work that I use, and I think that's an incomplete version. I just looked at the basic interface of it, and it doesn't have all the functions that you were describing. Okay. Is that what you mean by an incomplete?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And Shirley, it's good to see you again.
Hi. I use it for keeping track of donations I've made to a variety of charities. And I also use it as a database for the Friends, which I'm hoping to expand the database to include like committees that they're willing, or fundraising events they're willing to volunteer at. So when that event comes up, I can just sort of quickly grab the people who had volunteered and just reach out to those members.
Okay. All right. That's good. Thank you all for letting me know that. All right. So getting back to what's going to happen going forward. Now, Stacy, did you mention to everybody? Okay, may I?
Yes, I didn't know if you wanted me to do it or if you want to do it.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So something came up for next Wednesday, and my mother, she's 91 years old, and she has to have a procedure at Strong on Wednesday, and I can't guarantee that I will be back at 6 o'clock because her procedure starts at noon. And I know it's just a one-time thing where she's going home that day, but I do have to kind of take care of her. So what is going to happen is, I've mentioned before that I'm dropping off the books to Stacy on Friday. She's going to make arrangements for you to pick it up. On the beginning book, I will have the assignment typed out on a page that'll be, I'll probably put rubber bands around the booklets that you get. They're kind of thick too. There's about 120 pages in each one. Each booklet has 6 modules. We went through the first 5 modules in beginning level tonight. We're going to save the 6th one for the next time we meet. So you're going to take a tour that's written down already on the paper, and there's you're going to create a spreadsheet, and then you have 2 assignments from the booklet to do and practice on some of the stuff that we went over, such as formatting and formulas in that, and bring it back to class. You know, this is a non-credit class. I don't actually grade you folks. You do get a certificate if you attend all the programs from the college for attending. I hope that you take with the experience here, you know, take it, use it to the best of your ability. I know when I was younger, and this is way back in the 90s, I started out using Excel, taking non-credit classes before I ended up taking a college class where I had to get credits. But just stepping into a class like this gives you some basic knowledge that you end up being more comfortable as you move on. And again, for me, I'm using it. I used to use Excel more for accounting under a different job that I used to do, but under my current job, it's more about keeping track of students and classes. I do help some of our, one of our programs, the teacher does have to do grades. So we have some grade books that we keep track of. But for the most part, ours is mostly texts that are in. We do keep numbers on how many people are enrolled in certain programs and make pie charts out of, so that we can see visually what programs are better programs. And you know, I mean, yes, you can look at a number and see that, oh, 150 is way bigger than 60. But when you take something and you put it in a pie chart, the visual on that gives you a much clearer picture of how or who is enrolling in our programs. And for you folks, I think it was Shirley, you talked about donations and charities. And if you probably had different events, you could see what ones visually in a pie chart are more lucrative for you or for your organization. So any type of presentation that you were giving to the board or your committees, it's easier to see things. So I think you'll, what everybody said, I think we'll kind of cover everything so that you walk away, you know, you're not going to be an expert, and I'm not an expert, and I've been using it for 25 years plus. But there's other people, depending on their jobs, they make these wonderful spreadsheets. We'll just all kind of grow together with this as we move forward. And I'd like to say thank you.
Next week then, will there be a class or no? There will not be a
there
class.
will not be a class. We'll reconvene the following Wednesday, and we're just going to add another Wednesday on so that you get.
Perfect. Thank you.
You'll still get your full 4 classes.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
So then the classes will end when?
I think the 17th.
The 17th.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
That sounds right.
All right. So I'd like to sign off for the night and tell everybody good night, and I'll see you again in 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Okay. And by the way, if during the time you want to email me something, you've created something, you wanted me to look at it, feel free to do that. Within 24 hours, I'll reply back. And I'm being generous when I say 24. Normally it's like 15 minutes later, but it is kind of the busy season for me. So, you know, I'm still there. I'm open to helping any way I can. And if anybody has a sample of something that they want to show us, Natalie, if you have a sample of something that doesn't have private information on it, like I can't show you the student roster with people's names on it because they're students. But if you have something you want to share, it's like, oh, look at, you know, somebody does it like this. How can I create that kind of document? Feel free to do that.
I wish I could. I'll try to find something that's not sensitive.
Okay. And that goes for anybody too. You know, if you have something that you want to show that say, hey, how can I make this better so it looks better? Feel free. Okay.
What's your email address?
Mary. Can I put that in the chat? Do we have a chat? Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
All right.
There is a little dot between the Mary and the Gratton, just in case it's hard to see.
Good luck with your mother, Mary.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
And Stacy, did you see my earrings?
Very nice. Have you been wearing them a lot?
Just today.
Well, that's okay. Well, thanks everyone. Y'all have a good night. Bye.
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 Bye.